Right, so this month's character video, as you can see, it's quite a lazy one as such, because it's one we all know so well. Especially if you're, I don't know, over 30, I'd say. It's one we've all, if you've not seen it, which will be a miracle, you've definitely heard of it. Obviously that's Friends. Watching it now occasionally, it's very of its time, isn't it? Obviously the relationships between the people and stuff, I suppose we could look at them with modern eyes as well. Don't worry, I'm going to keep this one brief as not, which is unusual for me. I'm not going to go too much into the characters. Well, obviously there'll be a bit about the backstories and all of that jazz, but not too much, because I think it's unfair to overly analyse it and the characters with modern eyes, because when it was made, it was how things were, I guess. I know it's a lazy one this month, but to be quite honest, I've been watching so many things at once. I need to sit down and concentrate. What's coming next month? Could be Doctor Who, could be Sabrina actually. I really got into that. But this month I've been obsessed with Barbarians, which is just, what fantastic TV. I know I'm rambling on and no one's interested in this, but Barbarians, if you like Vikings and things like that are kind of sort of historic. I think it's probably a little more historic than Vikings, but not too much. But it's interesting. It's all in German. It keeps it authentic and stuff. And I'm sure the Romans speak Latin, but I don't know Latin enough. And yeah, the violence and sex is there but muted. It's not something you need to see. It's more implied. It still has quite an effect. So yeah, I'd say definitely give that one a watch if you're into historic things. Anyway, back to Friends. Yeah, Friends is the 90s, isn't it? We all grew up. We all kind of waited season to season to see will they, won't they, blah blah blah. And yeah, it also tackled quite a few issues of the time, I think, as well, and it made superstars of them all. And as we look back, some of them have clearly suffered since and had mental health issues and stuff. So it's, yeah, we're not going to get too much into that. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, I'd say they're not in any order, but they kind of are, really. Starting with my least favourite to my favourite. So first up is Rachel. Now Rachel, she kind of she came into it when she was running away from her wedding. The ex-husband fella kind of was in it a little bit. And she's kind of a spoilt rich girl who doesn't really know much about life. She's a bit ditzy, not the brightest. I mean, this is the character we're talking about. I didn't write it. And she kind of she was like a schoolboy romance interest for Ross, who is still quite obsessed with her. And they have a kind of on and off relationship through it. She dates other people. She dates Joey. She has a baby with Ross as well, and yeah, they kind of I don't know, have a toxic effect on each other's relationship, could you say? Yeah. Anyway, should you not have watched this, I won't give the spoiler for the end. Okay, for once. But yeah, Rachel, she works for Ralph Lauren, which makes you think I could have picked a Ralph Lauren fragrance, but to be fair, I don't know them well enough to have done that. So what I picked for it is Coco Mademoiselle, and this is because Rachel is kind of, inverted commas, the it girl, or they make her out to be that way. So she's you know, she's very on trend. She wears all the most popular things, as if you're walking through the most random spots ever. when it's, you know, it's about to wee it down and there's people. But anyway, yes, she's very thinks she's cool, is made out to be cool. She's very successful at her job as well, it's not all negative. So Coco Mademoiselle is kind of, you know, it's very popular, everyone knows it, everyone wears it, it's very comfortable, she's going to smell good, it doesn't require much thought, everyone will recognise it and enjoy it. And that's pretty much Rachel, isn't it? Now again, I'm not going to go too much into depth with it, but looking back, I suppose Rachel really is, it's quite a, I mean, she'll be somebody's favourite, but for me it was really hard to like her at all. I mean, she's so mangy and spoilt and wants everything her own way. To be quite honest, Ross is not, their relationship is toxic, like I say, Ross is not perfect, but she treats him like muck. Look, see the pheasant? But yeah, she treats him like muck. She expects him to always be there and what have you. And I'll probably cover this with Ross as well. This thing, the break thing. We were on a break. That very famous thing. To be fair, she went on a break with him and expected him to kind of hang about because, you know, she's Rachel. Now, if he really cared for that much and what have you, which he did, then he would have, so I can see why she was mad. But she decided they were on a break. And again, this is not just a man thing. Is he supposed to have just, you know, waited round when she was, you know, not really showing any interest in him and stuff, and etc., and not move on with his life, which obviously he regretted doing? But to be fair, she called a break, they were on a break. So yes, Coco Mademoiselle for Rachel. Next up, got nothing against the fella, but Joey's next. I mean, apart from Matt LeBlanc being one of the worst actors in the history of the world ever, it was quite ironic that they kind of put him as the kind of aspiring actor. Now Joey is an aspiring actor, he's a ladies' man, he's got the gift of the gab. I think Chandler and Ross kind of admire that about him. He obviously flirts with them all and that, but there's nothing in it apart from obviously when he gets with Rachel, which is, it was meant to be the shock, wasn't it? Because they're quite an unexpected couple, aren't they, really? But it was interesting. And so for Joey, obviously there could be, yes, obviously the wind god is back. Now my voice beckons and summons the wind to blow as I film. So what I picked for him is you know, predictable, Sauvage. And there couldn't be any other fragrance, could there? It's not that that's a lazy choice. He would wear Sauvage, wouldn't he? There's no chance he wouldn't, or a knockoff of it. Now, it's kind of, again with Joey, it's because it requires no thought and it's popular and it's easy. And Joey would obviously want to go for something like that. Yeah, it's just a perfect choice for him, isn't it? He's also, I mean, going back more into the character, Joey succeeds. He gets like a big part in a big show and that. And it, again, looking at it from the outside years on, quite a lot of sympathy for him. He doesn't know how to do anything else. Well, you know, his acting isn't the greatest, but he makes it, doesn't he? And then to be knocked down from all of that is quite sad. He doesn't give up, of course, does he? He gets himself into a bit of financial mess, and he's helped out by the others, because even though none of them are ever at work, they earn a lot of money apparently, very middle class. And you know, he has a very kind heart. He is although they make him out to be simple and stupid, he's actually a really sweet guy. Funny without not wanting to be, and really they do quite bully him a bit, don't they? Again, like I say, I'm no lover of Joey, but he does have has quite a tough time, and nobody really ever takes him overly seriously. So a little bit of the Rachel and Joey is, why shouldn't he be happy? He's a decent guy and all of that. Anyway, not going too much into that. I'm trying to remember any other long-term relationships he has. Here and there he does, doesn't he? But they don't make that much of a kind of difference. Obviously, the main thing is his bromance with Chandler, isn't it? They are best friends. They are complete opposites. They get on each other's nerves quite a lot. But that is how kind of close friendships work, don't they? And he did have a spin-off show. I think I watched one episode and was like, no. It was just terrible, wasn't it? It really was. He needed the other characters to be there. So, but yeah, Savage suits him, doesn't it? Because it's your generic, easy go-to. Smell good. Not going to deny it, although I don't enjoy it. So for Joey is Dior Savage. Next is Phoebe, and again, Phoebe's not this low because I dislike her. I do really like Phoebe. I think the show as a whole doesn't really do enough with Phoebe, and obviously the other stories are obviously more popular, so they made it, for views and stuff. But Phoebe is a masseuse. She's a twin with Ursula, who is also Lisa Kudrow. She has a complicated life and a complicated story. What I've picked for Phoebe is a kind of, it's from a naturals brand, Apple Aromatics, and it's pink wood. Now this is supposed to represent everything that grows near to the earth. So there's lots of rose in it. There's oud, there's sandalwood, geranium. But it's kind of a beautiful rose oud. It's got a bit of fruitiness in it, which would represent her quirkiness, really. But it's very calm and very kind of natural. And Phoebe herself is quite the hippie. She's like the anti-Ross. She believes in all sorts of kind of spiritual and mystical kind of things. And obviously Ross being a scientist, they clash sometimes. And she's also a quirky musician who writes obviously a song, and they use somebody else's voice. She doesn't realise she doesn't quite sound as good as she thinks, but she's a good writer, so there's that. She's also involved in a love triangle eventually between a kind of very, very successful, is he a nuclear physicist, and then this other guy who's kind of a bit quirky and daft. They both propose to her, they both kind of fight over her in the end, and she chooses neither. She's also the surrogate to her brother's child, which is, back in them days, I mean, it causes a bit of hoo-ha in the show, but back in them days, yeah, it would be kind of an interesting thing, an idea, wouldn't it? And I think the show will cover it all right, I guess. And obviously, after she's had the baby, it kind of shows the issues you can have with all of that, because her half brother, he marries a much older lady who's not able to have children anymore, which also, they make more of a big deal. Again, it's the 90s, they make more of a big deal over that than needs to be, but Phoebe being Phoebe kind of covers it. And I just think there could be so much more explored with Phoebe, because she's very interesting. She's more interesting than Rachel, isn't she? She's got a personality. Not everything's the same. She's quite unique and different. And again, I think the fragrance kind of suits her, because not just because of that masseuse thing, but that kind of being in touch with nature, her kind of way of looking at the world. That there's more to everything, not religious, but kind of pagan-y maybe a little bit, that nature is God and all of that. I'm not going to keep waffling on. I think we all know Phoebe really well, and I think that fragrance particularly suits her exceptionally well. So that is Pink Wood from Apple Aromatics for Phoebe. Next up is Chandler. Now Chandler, picking a fragrance for him was the hardest of all of them, because there's a lot about Chandler, but then again there's not much, he doesn't have much depth, which is part of his character, and there's reasons for that. Chandler is a kind of finance guy. You don't really find out what he ever does, but he does numbers, and he comes from a very weird situation. It's not weird nowadays when you look back. I think his dad is a gay drag artist, is he? Which again, there's nothing wrong with, although it was very funny back in the 90s apparently. And his mum was a bit of a big drinker, I think. So neither of them really, I think, was he an only child perhaps? And neither of his parents really gave him much time or love or anything. So Chandler's quite an emotionally broken chap, which again, looking back, is quite sad. He tends to go for women with issues. Janice, who he has an on-off thing, but Janice is very controlling and a bit crazy, and they kind of don't really work. They don't have too much in common, although they do become good friends after. But yeah, it's a very weird situation. And then obviously he gets with Monica, which is always tricky getting with one of your best friend's sister. So they keep that kind of secret for quite a while actually, so as not to upset Ross. But yeah, he's a good character, and yeah, I think Monica suits him well, because he likes that woman who could kind of take control, and she does deeply love him and all of that stuff. So it's a good match, isn't it? And the kind of in the end it all, well, maybe it doesn't all work out fine, but yeah, they're a good match, even though again quite opposite. And Chandler kind of hides his pain and his misery through sarcasm and that. Quite a textbook character, isn't he, really? And his humour, and he has like a big deep romance with Joey, and again, like I said, they're opposites, but they do deeply care with each other, and he doesn't want to also lose that and upset Joey. What I've picked for Chandler is Burberry Brit, which why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's quite a it was big in its day, probably back, though, was it after that? I can't remember. But it's an easygoing rose, like a powdery creamy one. There's woods and whatnot in it. It's just very easy, and it's very likeable, but it's nothing spectacular, it's nothing in your face. And given his job that he does, I mean, they're not famous for having the biggest, most sparkling personalities in the world ever, are they? So yeah, it's Burberry Brit, and that's Chandler. I'm not going to go waffle on and on and on about it, but he's quite, when you look back, quite a sad character really, and it kind of reflects the actual actor, who had quite a tough time and that. So yeah, Burberry Brit, Chandler. Next up is Monica, who again in the 90s kind of use a bit of humour. Monica has quite an awful childhood. Obviously Ross is the favourite of the two, and Monica, when she's young, is quite a chubby lass. And maybe this is so what I said I wouldn't do. Her controlling nature, her having order to everything, and being very clean, very tidy, and that obsessive behaviour with that, probably comes from the fact she couldn't control her weight, and she escaped in food when she was a child. We're not going too deep into all of that. And obviously she becomes a chef, so again it's that food thing again, isn't it? And she's a very good chef. Her and Ross again are opposites, and there is a lot of bickering between them, but as we do, I mean, me and my sister are quite opposite and bicker a lot, and she's the favourite and I'm the middle child. I'll get into that, but yeah, she's a good character, and she's ultimately a good person despite all the bickering and arguing. She's got depth, personality, emotions, whereas Rachel, you know, and they're kind of best friends. And obviously, going back in time when you look at the take you back, and obviously she was the one who everyone took the mick out of. She hung about with Rachel, the popular one, who I forgot to mention had a nose job because she had a big nose. She wasn't quite as much of a, you know, a people pleaser as Rachel was back then as well. It's quite sad. Anyway, she ends up with Chandler, which we've already spoke about, so we won't really go into that. But from her perspective, he's a good guy, isn't he? And you know, she's known him a long time, and he's always kind of been there and nice to her. Also, what I've picked for her is Acro's Dark. It's taken me a long time to get there because it is a gourmand, but it's not your super sweet, you know, gourmandy gourmand. There's a lot of levels and a lot of depth to it, and it's interesting, like Monica is herself. Obviously I am getting absolutely soaked here, so it was a really good match to it. And obviously she has a kind of sweeter, admirable side, and also the kind of darker, moody, controlling side, and I think Acro's great for that. I will finish Monica here because I am getting absolutely soaked. So for Monica is Acro Dark. So last up, if I could get it filmed like pounding down again, it's slowed down a bit. I've also thought I'd mention, all you can smell is petrichor. It's lovely. But yeah, Ross. Now Ross is the spoilt child, the love child, and he's very, very brainy and very scientific, and he gets his PhD and stuff, and he's a paleontologist. And what Ross lacks with that as well is kind of, not knocking down his personality, is he lacks a certain amount of empathy and understanding that people don't always see everything as he does. He has a very kind of logical mind, a kind of black and white mind. Now what I've gone for him is, because he's a paleontologist, is Anubis from Papillon. Obviously because it represents mummies in ancient Egypt. And yes, before you say it, I know paleontologist is bones and that kind of period, the prehistoric period and all of that, but still, it works, okay? And Ross, who's Ross? Well, apart from, you know, his kind of bit spoilt, bit of chip on his shoulder, he's the person I relate to the most. He's very wordy. He doesn't back down with an argument. He kind of struggles sometimes with stupidity and that. But he's also this mad, hopeless, doomed romantic. Obviously his relationship with Rachel, I won't spoil it by the end, but that kind of on-offness, his kind of obsession with her and that. Before Rachel comes into it, he's already got one failed marriage. Again, very funny, he married a lesbian, his wife turns out to be bisexual, one would presume. Or maybe she's decided she's a lesbian after that, which is perfectly possible. Doesn't mean she, but you know, sexuality's fluid. Get over it, 1990s. He has a kid with her. They get divorced. He then meets another woman, Emily, Helen Baxendale. Again, a failed relationship. They do spend lots of time. He says Rachel's name at a wedding. That one fails. He then, I can't remember her name, another doctor, can't remember her name, but anyway, she was with Joey first, and I think they click, and then that all goes, because he's still obsessed with Rachel. Obviously he has a child with Rachel. They do and don't work out, and again, I'm not going to spoil the ending. It's really quite interesting. His personality and they fail because of him, not really because of anyone else. He kind of struggles to let go of anything. he is a bit romantic, he is a bit of a fool. His social skills aren't the best out of the lot of them. He's very independent minded as well, obviously, and it all kind of just doesn't work. And you do kind of feel a bit of sympathy for Ross, because he does mean the best. Like with obviously with Monica, their relationship, he's still quite brotherly. He does kind of care about her and all of that. Anyway, I'm waffling on and on and on. Obviously Anubis, that kind of ancient smell, even a sort of smell of books with the leather. There's that very funny scene with his leather trousers and the talcum. So yeah, I cut myself off there. That's Ross, and that's Anubis from Papillon. So that is the end of that video. Don't need a really long or rambly conclusion, do I really? I mean, we all watch Friends probably, and I did do what I said I wouldn't do, which is overanalyze everyone. But I think the fragrances as a whole really do match them. Anyway, I'm not going to make this long. What about you? How would you scent them with modern day scents? Do you think history's being kind to Friends, or do you think it shows how dated it is? Who's your favourite character, and who did you relate to the most? Was it too harsh on Rachel and Joey? But yes, that's it, and thank you.